If I'm going to go through the trouble to make ribs, I am going to use spare ribs every single time. Now that means you have to trim them yourself to get them to the way you want. So I always take the end off where there's no bones that are good for ribs anyways. There's this flap that always needs to come off. I save all the meat and I use it later in braised pork dishes, like a Vietnamese caramel pork that I'm particularly fond of. So then the last tricky part is, so there's a little extra fat here. Let's get that out of the way. Nobody really needs that. You don't have to get too picky about it, but you know, cut it down a little bit. That's garbage. We'll throw that out. And now I'm going to take the membrane off the back. To do that, since it's slippery and you got to really pull, use a little paper towel or something to get in there. And I pull it off because otherwise it can get tight and plasticky, saran wrappy. And if we get it off, then people's teeth don't have to worry about that. There's a little extra fat. We'll get that off. And this is ready to cut in half. Get it ready for the barbecue. Next step is going to be to apply the rub. In a dry brine, what you're doing is adding salt and sugar and spices. If you don't like white sugar, you can use maple sugar or other natural sugars. We've got salt, we've got pepper, we've got garlic, onion. I've got a little bit of garam masala in here just to keep things interesting. And what we're doing is just applying copious amounts of the dry stuff, including all exposed edges, because that's how the flavor gets in. And when we're done, you can let them sit overnight. I think that's probably the best for dry brining, for the flavor to get in there. But if you're in a hurry, you can also let it sit for 5 minutes and then put it right on the smoke, because you know, the first couple of times you might not get the timetable right. There you go. Once you've got your meat all trimmed off and seasoned, it's a matter of waiting. You put it in the smoker, and I have these racks that keep airflow between the pieces of meat. Every hour or so, I moisten the outside of everything with a mixture of water and cider vinegar. Otherwise, it turns out leathery. We're also going to rotate the meat so that the hotter heat on the outside can cook the meat evenly. Now, after the little spritz, we always want to add a little smoke. Right now, after laying down oak and hickory base, I'm fueling with apple. Just a handful in there. Just a little knock for the coals. And new fresh smoke comes out of the top.
Is it smoking?
Is it smoking? Come on, baby. It sometimes it takes a minute, but when the spare ribs are fully cooked after 5 or 6 hours, you should just be able to take 2 bones and pull them apart like that. Meat clings, but the bone comes off clean.
Good.
I'd say it's worth the trouble, but
Yeah.
you be the judge.